Okay, guys, welcome back. Now, in this class, we're going to continue with the creation of our menu, and we'll also make some button animations as well here. So we'll begin to do them using these that we've already set up. I'll start with the first one. Do you remember when we talked about mousing over, putting your mouse over an item? Okay, how you can affect that? Well, when I mouse over this, we can make it move as well. That would be a pretty cool animation, right? Almost like it's popping up, or we're highlighting the fact that, yes, you're selecting that option or about to select it. It's relatively simple, and we'll see some concepts that we're familiar with. Okay, it does require a little bit of work, but it's a good feature to show you. There's also the sound as well you can add every time you click on something, every time you mouse over it. All right, so I'll just lower my animation window for now, so we don't need that at the moment. But this is still showing. So let's set this to the original state. Scale it back to how it would be at the beginning, to 0. There we go. Cool. So it will always be at 0 at the beginning, because when we play, it's going to animate it. Okay, so we can leave it like that for now. Great. Now, I don't need to do this, because since this is going to be shown at the beginning, that's fine. That can stay like that. Don't need to worry about that. Okay, so let's think about what we're going to do with our buttons. So I'll select this button. Let's talk about this now. In this button, we'll see some events down the bottom, right? So do you remember that we had these preset events on box collisions? These buttons are already connected, okay, because we use the button. So when we use a button, then we get the event options in the details panel. Okay, so because we have these preset functionalities, it's really easy then to work with them. For text, we don't have them because it's just text, isn't it? It's just like information. So it's actually the button that's doing the functionality that's behind the text. So when I press the mouse, use the mouse to press the button, then it's going to give me the option to do some blueprinting with it, okay? So I can tell it what to do when it's clicked, pressed, released, etc. Okay, so for instance, on clicked, then, or on pressed, when I click and hold, or, you know, all sorts, something's going to happen, and that's what we're going to put together in a blueprint. There's also on release, so when you release a button, something different can happen. Okay, so you can use many different events here, which are activated by the mouse. There's the unhovered for when we're not hovering over the button anymore. And we basically just have these 5 presets. And reality is that they're sufficient. So I want to create an event for when we mouse over something. So I'll use on hovered. And if I click to add it, it's already put me in the event graph, right? It takes me straight to it. So that's the event graph within the widget. So I want to do a little bit more. I want that when I hover over it, I want it to move slightly to the right. So when I put my mouse here, it's going to move, okay? A little bit of interaction. So I need to make 2 chain of events. I'll add a move, location, and transform event. Okay, and 1 to play a sound. So let's go to the graph. Our event's already here, and what I'll do is I'll move the start button here. Okay, so let's put that in here. Cool. And let's think about it. Who's going to move? The start button's going to move. And now I'll make the event. And what exactly will it do? So I'll move it here. For our widget, there's a node called set render. And this render is connected to the appearance to show things when something is in 2D. And it changes this concept to set render as if we change the appearance of it. That's pretty much how it works. So let's change its appearance with transform. So we can use that. And it's going to transform its appearance by moving it. So I have the set render transform, right? So that's all in place now. So now what do we do with it? Well, do you remember I told you about this in line tracing? But every time you see a node, it's usually dark blue, this one here, right? And you mouse over it, it will show you what it can do. And it says structure. So it means that you have the option of splitting the pin. Okay, just right click and you can split the pin. Now, there is another way, which is doing it here, going to make. Okay, you can use that, make widget transform. But for us, it's a little confusing doing it that way. So just right click, easier, right? Okay, so basically I'll move it to the right. That's what I'm going to do in my transform. So I already have the preset values for this. So I'll move it 20 pixels to the right because I've done this before. So I'll just use that. And that's going to move 20 centimeters, that is. And there we go. So now I want it to move 20 pixels to the right on here. Let's just test it. Just so I can simulate what it's going to do and where it's going to be. See if it's enough. Okay, but this is going to be sufficient, I believe. So when I hover over it, it's going to move 20 pixels to the right. When the mouse is not over the button anymore, it will move to its initial position. So I need to create our event for that. And if I click the start button, it will show, it will also enable our preset events. Okay, so I can create on unhovered. So when the mouse is not over it anymore, what do we want to happen? Well, I want it to go back to its original state, which is going back to 0, its initial position. Okay, so did you see how the render has a relative position too, right? But it has an initial position, which is the initial position here. The position is 0, 0, 0, which is what it is here. And there's no, no other movement in any other coordinate. So it takes it back to where it was. So the concept is fairly simple. Now we already have the movements in place. Now we can think about adding the sound. There is a node for it, which is called Play Sound 2D. And that's what we'll use because in our case, it's a widget, it's a 2D sound. And it's a simple sound used in widgets. And here we can select the sound. We have the usual parameters for sound here as well. And when I say 2D sound, I mean it's on a graphic rather than in a 3D space. Okay. So there we have the different settings. We can change these here: the volume, the pitch, how it starts, etc. Let's choose some audio. Okay, I've pre-selected this sound, which is the select sound. And I've saved it here. There we go. So there's that sound. You can use the click as well if you want to. So we can just put them in. All looking good. Let's push play and test it. Hover over it. And the sound's played, right? And then it moves back to its initial position. Pretty cool, right? Great. And that's really simple. But you have to follow these methods in the event graph to get that to work. The only thing we need to do, though, is to replicate the same thing for all the buttons, because we need the same process to work on all the buttons. So before that, there is the select sound feature here. Since we'll use this button for all of them, it's better to create a variable for this sound, because if I decide to change the sound in the future, then I won't have to do it for every single node, okay? Because that's going to be a lot of work. So let's promote this to a variable, okay? And then we've got a sound base, we can call it, or select sound, cool. So that's our variable for that. Let's compile. And there we go. So there's our sound. So if I want to change it, all I have to do is edit it here. And it will change the sound on all the variables on the animation part of this menu. So let's replicate all of this, all the buttons, and I'll fast forward the video and I'll be right back to show you the final effect. Okay, sit tight. everyone, we're back now, and we've added all our sounds and interaction to the button. And we've commented on all of them as well, just so we keep things tidy and understand what's doing what and for which buttons they are, okay? It's a really good way to keep things organized. So we'll move it, we're going to move it 20 pixels to the right and backwards when it's not hovering over. We've copied all those adjustments to all the other buttons as well. And we use the sound variable, as we said, saving a bit of time there. So that if I make changes here, it will reflect in all 5 nodes at the same time. Now, if I hadn't done that, I would need to keep editing them every single one, and it will take a long time. Okay? So this will be the same way to work again for the other buttons like about and the exit as well. So there we go. So the animation is all sorted now. Look at that. See that? Nice. Okay, so that's it. We've improved this menu quite a lot, haven't we? But that's it for this class. We learned some really interesting things about render transform, how to play 2D sound, the actions for when you hover or you're not hovering over an item. And now we'll improve this menu even more with many other interactions, okay? But we'll see that in the next class. So take care, and we'll see you soon.